And let me then sort of try and frame this. Let me take about 10 minutes, quarter of an hour to sort of frame a bit of a proposition, if I may. And I'm going to use some data just to try and sort of set the scene, if I can. And I apologise in one sense for using data from England. It's just that A, I'm more familiar with it, and B, I think we're because of the fact that we gather more data, we're able perhaps to portray it in slightly sort of more a more heuristic way. But I think you'll see the similarities to the stuff that Richard Teese was showing at the racecourse on Wednesday. One of the things I did when I was in government was to try and do some analyses of school performance in different backgrounds, and also to look at the progress of different sort of groups of youngsters, and that's what this slide is about here. And here, these schools here are schools which would call are low deprivation schools. So they're schools which are in the leafy suburbs of Melbourne or London or Birmingham or Nottingham, where and the metric we use in England is the percentage of youngsters on free school meals. It's not an exact proxy, but it's a best indicator that we have. And so virtually no youngsters in these low deprivation schools have access to a free lunch. And these schools here are high deprivation schools where well over a third of youngsters have access to a free lunch. All right? And the first thing you can see from even at the back is that student performance is higher in these schools than it is in these schools, all right? Which is sadly what we have become to expect, all right? Then when you sort of break down the student population into three groups, the green are the kids who come from affluent homes, the yellow are the kids who come from homes of moderate means, that they don't access free school meals, and the red or the orange there are youngsters who really come from quite sort of challenging and deprived circumstances. Now you'll see that the rich kids do better than the mildly impoverished, and who do better than the poor kids, all right? But the rich kids and the mildly impoverished kids do a lot better in a leafy suburb school than a deprived school. The sad thing and the really challenging thing is that the kids who sort of are really poor do equally badly, irrespective of which school they go to, right? So for me as a policy maker in England, even though generally the indicators and the trends that we've been working on for quite a number of years were looking pretty positive, right? This for me was very worrying data, for two reasons. Still, the leafy suburb schools are doing better than the poorer schools, right? And these youngsters who are high poverty youngsters stubbornly just don't do very well at all right? This is the cycle we have to break, all right? Seems to me to be the next sort of horizon for the work that we're trying to do. Because by and large, I would hypothesize that we run and are involved with schools more like these than these. Yeah. Now, I'm going to draw some inferences from some schools that we've just been looking at, which actually have broken this trend. And these are schools, and this is the first type of schools we're talking about. These schools are secondary schools, but I think the lessons apply across. They're in the highest category of deprivation, so they are 35% or more of free school meals. Yet they achieve over 80%, what we call in England good GCSE passes at 16, and have had a consistent trajectory of improvement. Now, you've got to understand what this metric actually means. GCSE is our sort of exam at 16, and the sort of matriculation requirement is 5 good passes at GCSE. Does that make sense to you? Right? And this is the big indicator that we use to assess secondary schools in England. If you go back to this data here, right, even the affluent kids, right, in the leafy suburb schools are only scoring at 77%, right? What you're seeing here now are these secondary schools from this area where all the kids, well, not necessarily true, but the average of kids is scoring at the 80 percentile, at the 80% level. So they are outperforming. The average kid here is outperforming, the affluent kid in the leafy suburb school, right?